Alright, I'm back. Part 2, in-depth analysis. This might be a long one because it's going to take a lot. This one is featuring yours truly, John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, from the Saw franchise. Now, before I go, I gotta let you know, unlike most villains in horror movies, it's not a lot of depth to them. I mean, they iconic, they great. You love them, but it's not a bunch of backstory because a lot of their backstories are horrible to where it's like you really only care about the horrific side of them and not their true life before they was morphed into what they became. With John Kramer, it's completely different. He a human through and through. He don't die and get resurrected or nothing. He's a human the whole movie. Nothing about this is artificial or nothing about this is ghostly or godly. It's strictly real life and reality based. So it's going to get deep with him. Now I'm going to start off with John's early life because really with him, it's not too much known about his upbringing. It just gets into his backstory of years before he became Jigsaw. It never goes into his childhood or his teenage years or college years of upbringing. You just can make it out of what you make. I presume he grew up normal middle class family, was taught the right way to live, and along his life growing up, he was very intelligent and he learned a lot of traits throughout his life because he grew up to be a civil engineer by trade, but he had construction skills. Let me look at the notes real quick. He had toy making abilities. Like he can make houses, he could fix a car. He was just good with his hands in every kind of way. And those played a big role into the games he ended up constructing years later in his future, like death masks and merry-go-rounds that are automated to blast on shotguns. Just the things he was creating, you can tell he knew about mechanics and mechanisms and construction work and things of that nature because it was just obvious with the games. You had to be familiar with that. You can't just YouTube that and find out how to make those kind of traps work. Now with John, another thing that's special about him, he had an IQ of 158. And that's basically Einstein level. So you can use that to good or evil. However you use an IQ like that, you most likely still gonna succeed. Meaning, if you use that IQ for good of the world, you can be smart, brilliant, and rich. And if you use it to be a psycho, crazy serial killer, you can achieve your goals in that field. And that's exactly what happens because what make you know he was smart is because of his apprentices. He hoard throughout the franchise and throughout the years. I'm going to get into some of the movie, some of the traps, some of the themes of certain situations when those themes come up and they relevant to what I'm saying. But this is strictly about John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, because this is the guy for me. And look at the notes real quick. Some of his like I was saying earlier about his personality and his motto, where how he pick out his things. Like one of his apprentices, Amanda Young, she's famous. Then he got Logan Nelson. He got Jill Tuck, which was his ex-wife. Lawrence Gordon, which was a doctor. Mark Hoffman. All of these 5 people I just named couldn't be far from basically they couldn't be farther from different people than you can imagine. Like Dr. Gordon is a doctor, so you're dealing with somebody who also highly accomplished in his life and very smart. Then you got Mark Hoffman. He's a detective, decorated 25 years, so he also dealt with all kind of people in his line of work, smart, evil, great, whatever. He got Jill Tuck. She's a homeward bound clinic, like a drug rehabilitation clinic where she deal with the scum of the scum. So she used to dealing with all kind of people, high class trying to get help or low class. She in her field. Then you got who I didn't say yet. Amanda Young. She was basically the heir to his throne. Like, he was going to hand the entire operation over to her if she learned his ways and followed his rules and did how he wanted, which she didn't, which I get to. But what I'm getting by that, by naming his apprentices, this 5 people with totally different backgrounds, totally different lives, totally different line of work. So for Jigsaw to psychologically get into their mind, I mean, a doctor, a cop, a junkie, his ex-wife who he was divorced and devoid of, like, these people are furthest from being similar to each other than you can get. And he found a way to find a weak spot in their mind, because he's an older guy with cancer. So it's not like he's finna threaten them with a gun or something physical to scare him. He just great with psychology. He know how to pick something in your life and take it apart from you to where you need him. Like, Jigsaw is good with espionage. All of his games, he could be following you for weeks, months. You could be a cop, a doctor, a lawyer. It don't matter what your profession is. You have no clue he looking after you. Before he was fully sick and needed apprentices to help him with his games, he was doing all of this by himself, like capturing people, putting them in the trap. Like, his mind is just different. This is not just, you ain't signing up to this movie just to see Freddy or Jason or Chucky. You know what I'm saying? You know what to expect. And I'm not throwing shots at them, but it's like, I don't know if I'm going to even cover any of them in this. Like, I can cover them in best movies or best series or my favorite horror movie, but when it comes to an in-depth analysis, it got to be more to your personality. It can't just be, oh, you an iconic horror killer from the 80s, so let's cover you. Those guys don't got the complexes of John Kramer, because he's dealing in a real reality where you still gotta have, it's a movie, so you gotta suspend your belief factor somewhat, especially with all the sequels. But it's still factual that you can believe everything that's happening could be factual in real life. So that's where his complexities is way more than a Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Chucky. So, getting back to some of his traits, like I said, with the espionage, how he pick his victims, like, no matter what happened with this guy, it's somewhat, he knows basically every game he chooses to do, it's not always the fairest game. Some test subjects fail a particular game off screen, so now they're in a particular game for protagonists where they have to be saved. A lot of people don't like that, because it's like, where was their chance to live? But really, in the reality of the whole theme of the thing, they failed a test to where now that's their test. They lost. They supposed to have been dead at that moment, but now he putting them into another test where they can be saved to live. Like, an example of that is Detective Matthews from Saw 2. He got out of the bathroom trap by breaking his ankle and getting out of the shackles, but he was put in another test just to be saved. That was an example of somebody passing a test and having to be saved. Sometimes they ain't even that fortunate where they just strictly got to be saved. But back to Jigsaw, like, when I spoke of his apprentices, when every time he get a test subject, every time he get an apprentice, most of them come from a test that they either they had to pass, obviously, or it's just some type of finesse blackmail or some kind of something he know about them that only he know, where he can blackmail, use it against them, turn them into the cops. Like when it come to Amanda, she was in a reverse bear trap. So after that, she was already a junkie. Her life was going nowhere. So when Jigsaw approached her shortly after she passed her game, talked to the cops about what happened, he approached her, and that was like, her seeing Jesus or something, because she joined immediately. It was no pushback. It was no, I'm going to join you, but really backtray you and, you know what I'm saying, go to the cops. She was like fully on deck and to the Jigsawism, where she was just like down for the cause. When it come to Jill, this is another part of his psychology. Jill was, like I said, she's a counselor at the rehabilitation clinic where she thought Amanda was a lost cause. She's going to be a junkie for life. She ain't never finna get healthy. So when John saved her, got her back on deck, she beat the trap, he showed her to Jill basically as a way of saying, listen, what I'm doing, you got to come on board now. You thought she was a lost cause. Now she on my side. You see, she clean, she everything. So that right there is psychology. He knew showing Amanda would basically convince Jill. At least, if she ain't gonna full-fledged join, she can maybe be an accomplice to a lesser degree at points. But she ended up basically joining and, like I said, being an accomplice to a lesser degree. Now, when it comes to Lauren, Dr. Gordon, Dr. Gordon, Dr. Gordon, Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon was basically how all rich people or upper class people feel. It don't gotta be racist. It's anybody upper class. Doctors, lawyers, celebrities, anybody in the upper class, higher percentile of the world has some kind of, I ain't gonna say arrogance, but some type of ego where they may not outwardly show it, but in their mind, they damn sure think they better than you. And that's how Dr. Gordon was. Like, you got cancer patients who finna die. We don't know, I mean, these people daily who Dr. Gordon deal with. But what happens is he come into contact with John as his physician. And he see that John has an inoperable brain tumor where he finna die within 6 months. So every time he meet with Dr. Gordon, he just like, fam, yeah, it's not getting better. You finna die, woo woo. And from Jigsaw perspective, he like, damn, that's kind of cold. At least, nothing comfort me. So he part of the trap. And throughout his whole ordeal of his game, I mean, I'm not going to get through that particular movie because I done covered that before. Check out my review of the top 10 horror movies and top 9 movies of Saw. But anyways, Dr. Gordon get through his test and cut his leg off. Jigsaw rehabilitate him, get him back into health, and he got like a cult complex where he somehow, it's kind of odd where if you beat a trap, you normally would want to get away from this for the rest of your life or see John convicted or at least arrested, which never happened. But he got a way of turning his trap survivors into his number one, accomplices, because Dr. Gordon is doing all the surgical procedures. That's one skill that Jigsaw even said in the last Saw movie, Saw 3D. I think that was 8. He said, you basically been my number one aspect. I got lawyers, I got cops, I got every kind of apprentice that can help me get away with these crimes and commit these crimes. But what he didn't have was a surgeon, for one, because he got cancer, and for two, some of his traps need surgical hands, like sewing a key in somebody's eye, sewing a key in somebody's kidney, certain things like that throughout the traps in the series where Dr. Gordon, I think he sewed somebody's mouth shut and sewed somebody else's eye shut and Saw 4 the mausoleum. So he had a real big aspect, and he was also insurance policy in case Amanda or Hoffman went over the deep end. He could take them out and take over the mantle. So Jigsaw had all of his eggs in a row, not in one basket, but he had them sprinkled out because his apprentices, they basically carried out his orders like a general and his soldiers. The problem was none of them was as efficient as Jigsaw, and they all had different type of models. Like they'd take Jigsaw overall model and twist it and remix it into their style when they took over the games after he died. But it's not about them apprentices. It's strictly about Jigsaw. The thing that you got to know about Jigsaw is, and this is key, he's not some kind of bulky, like I said, he's not a monster or supernatural. He's a normal man, and not even a normal young man fit. He's an older cancer patient. So everything he do has to be sort of psychological. It has to be some kind of blackmail or something he got on you that you don't want revealed to the world or to the cops or to whoever, your wife or whatever it may be. And that's what take it to another level with him, because when you think about some of the games he put people in, it takes time to do some of this. You can kidnap somebody and murder them in one night, but to kidnap 7 people, put them in a house, and throughout the entire house is doors, traps, rigs, pulleys, like the needle trap. You know how many needles it take to get that kind of stuff going? I don't want to talk about the real version of the movie, how they set it up. I'm talking about put yourself inside the movie. You know how long it takes to set these traps up? Like, this is not taking a day or two. Like, this taking weeks. And the most underrated part of Jigsaw to me is not the traps or the psychological. It's the espionage. Because you know how long it take, like, a stalker, when you think of a stalker, you think of a disgruntled husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, baby mama, baby daddy. That's what you think when you think of stalker. A man or a woman stalking an ex that he can't let go. His stalker is to another level. This is like I said, this is that's my definition of stalker, basically. An ex disgruntled boyfriend or girlfriend calling, texting, coming to your job, trying to figure out what you're doing. If you're doing this and that, you done moved on from them. What he doing is I technically call espionage, because he gotta watch you so much to where he can tell you basically what you do. And I'm gonna give you an example. In Saw 5, when he talking to Hoffman, like, cause Hoffman, Jigsaw has gotten to a point where Billy the puppet is the terrifying puppet, that's his spokesperson. He don't present himself to his victims. Billy the puppet tell him the game, the trap, and the rules, and what to do and not do. But Mark Hoffman, at the very beginning of the origins, actually made a trap to kill his sister's murderer, who he felt got out of jail after a 5-year bid. He thought it should have been life for murder, and I agree. 5 years for murder? Damn, where they do that at? But anyways, whatever. So he set Seth Baxter, which was the criminal, into a trap that was unbeatable, and put Billy the Puppet and all that in to make it like a normal Jigsaw trap. Nobody would miss Seth Baxter anyway. He a piece of shit. The problem with that is Jigsaw watching Mark Hoffman, because he already knowing the cops that's looking after him. I don't know how he noticed before Hoffman was working for him, but he somehow know the detectives that's on the case, the Jigsaw case. I mean, I guess this could be public record, but he basically know Hoffman is a future detective who's going to be on the case overseeing tap and sing for him. So he started watching Hoffman, and he telling Hoffman this the whole time in a flashback, within a flashback. Like, they discussing, like, fam, I know you did this Jigsaw killing and it wasn't me. Hoffman, like, I ain't do that, trying to, like, play dumb. He like, I know it's you. All this time, these months you've been investigating, trying to find me, I've been watching you. He tell him, I know about your sister. I know Seth Baxter murdered her. I know he got out on a technicality after 5 years and you felt like you couldn't handle that. So then Hoffman, cards on the table now. He like, yeah, you fucking right. You should have saw the blood, how he slit her damn throat. Hell yeah, I killed them. And he like, I would have done it again. Jigsaw stop him right there like, everybody deserve a chance. I'm not saying I want these people not to die, but at least give them a This ain't 50-50. Let's be 100. Let's give them a 20% chance to survive. Because none of these traps really, I mean, some easier than others, but none of these traps you could say, honestly, even as a diehard fan or a stan, you can't say none of these traps are a 50-50 chance you can get out of them. You know what I'm saying? 50-50 is getting shot 2 times and surviving. That's 50-50. You might die, you might survive. These traps is more like 80% of chance you finna fucking die. So let's cut the bullshit. But he telling them still his theory of, you know what I'm saying, give him a chance at least. You can't just make a trap where it's just unbeatable. So that's how he get Hoffman. And that's what he do to everybody. He stalk them. He watch them. He see what they like. He see what they don't like. He know them as much as you can know a motherfucker without introducing yourself to him. Like he tell Amanda, which I said in the previous video, go check him out. When he played a tape for Amanda, that's when you get the first, that's what I said in that video. Oh yeah, this nigga different. When you hear how he talking to her, like, you don't know me, but I know you. You thinking in your mind, oh yeah, some shit finna happen. Like, dude just different. Like, it's no way of putting that. Like, that's why I got him so high on my list. And then, another thing that's cold about him is he don't go into nothing without being 100% sure he finna win. Like, it's ain't no moment where it's not Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, like I keep saying. They kick ass the whole movie, but they lose at the end because they got to. Jigsaw ain't like that. He won every movie he was in. Whether you like it or not, as far as the good guy, bad guy, technical, you know the bad guys are the horror icons become the good guy anyway. But I mean, even still, you want Christian and all the, you know, little Andy Barkley, you want those guys to win overall. But with him, he planned his death perfectly. Because like I said, he made damn sure I'm not dying from cancer. He found a motherfucker, which was Jeff, to kill him in a game. His style. Like, I don't want to ramble, keep going through the same pause, repeat, rinse, repeat with him. But you got to understand something about dude. It don't get no deeper. Like, I used to think John Doe was better from Seven. That's one of my most favorite movies ever. I might cover him next. But the thing about John Doe, he cold. But you never get a moment like Saw 2 with him, or 4 and 5, or flashbacks. If Saw ended with 3 and you never get the backstory and his psychological, well, time out, I'll take that back. Even if it ended in Saw 3, he tell a lot of his backstory in Saw 2 to Danny, you know, the Saw 2, that part, dude, yeah. Mark Wahlberg character. He tell his backstory to him. So you get everything you need out of that movie, basically. But that's why I got him over John Doe. Because John Doe, we don't even know his damn name. We don't know nothing about John Doe. You know what I'm saying? We know he crazy, he's smart, he's psycho, he you know what I'm saying? They say independently wealthy, but we know way more about John Kramer to dig into Jigsaw. We know Billy the Puppet was supposed to be a toy because he also had toy making skills. That was supposed to be for his son who was killed tragically in a miscarriage, well, abortion type of situation, miscarriage situation when Cecil ran the junkie ran it door into her stomach. But this might could be qualified as a part 2 because I mean I'm gonna cut it, but I can go on another hour about this dude because the thing about John, I might rewatch this and say, damn, I missed that part. I didn't say that about him. I'm missing something. I should have wrote a longer script. That's how it is with him. I could watch another YouTuber and get an idea off that. And I can make a video strictly with my own mind, but just off something somebody else said, like, damn, I know that, but I didn't think about that aspect. That's how deep he is. Like, man. That's it. John Kramer. Jigsaw. It's another one. the legend. Stay tuned, because I'm dropping another one. I keep saying it all the time. I'm finna make another one. I'm gonna make another one. Then I look at my timeline. It's a week. I'm finna start coming hard. Stay tuned. I'm coming back tomorrow with another one. The rest of the week, you finna see me a lot. But that's the end of this. In-depth analysis. Volume 2. John Kramer, a.k.a. Jigsaw. Y'all stay up, YouTube. I'm out.